Alright, this is your Algebra 2 Chapter 3 review. I'm going to go over this video in two parts. The first video is going to have the first 10 problems, and the second one is going to have the last 10. Alright, so number one, solve the system by graphing. Alright, so we're going to have to solve the system and see which one of these graphs matches it. So, first of all, let's go ahead and check this point to make sure that this pair represents this point. So 3, -1, okay, so that one does. -1, 3, well that's up here, so we can roll out C. 1, 3 is here, so we can roll out B, and then 3, 1 is right there. Alright, so we've narrowed it down to A and D. Alright, so we know C is wrong, and we know B is wrong. So we've narrowed it down to A or D. So now let's solve this. Alright, so let's add the 3x to both sides. So we have -2y equals 3x minus 7, divide -2, divide -2. So y equals -3/2 x. Then negative divided by negative is positive, so plus 3.5. And then the other one, minus 3x, minus 3x. So we have -y equals 10 minus 3x. Multiply both sides by -1 to get rid of the -y. So it's going to be y equals 3x minus 10. Alright, so now we have to figure out which graph has a y-intercept at -10 and at 3.5. Now remember, we've narrowed it down to A and D. Alright, so A crosses at positive 3.5, and if you look, this could cross at -10, but let's check the other one. This one crosses at -3.5. We need to cross at positive 3.5. So therefore, the answer is A. A is the graph that matches this system with the solution point of 3, -1. All right. Moving on. Number 2, same deal. Solve by graphing. Well, let's check these 4 points first. -2, 1, 2, -4, okay. -2, 1, 2, 4, all right. 4, -2, nope, B's gone. And then -4, -2, nope, D's gone. So we've narrowed it down to A or C. So now let's figure these out. -12, -12, y equals -4x minus 12. So does either of these graphs have a intersection at -12? Well, this one's going to be at positive. This one's at 2. Here we have -2, and this could go down to -12. All right, so we don't even have to solve this one. We know the answer here is also A. Okay, if you wanted to solve it, you could. You would subtract 4x minus 4x. So y equals, I'm sorry, -4y equals -4x plus 8. Divide off the -4. So y equals x minus 2. And there we go. There's our intersection of -2. So y equals x minus 2, which is this one right here. And then -4x minus 12, which is this line right here. So that just confirms A as our answer. All right, number 3. Solve the system using a table. All right, so we're going to solve using a table. So we're going to flip over to the graphing calculator, and we are going to graph these, and then use our table feature to then find our answer. All right, so let's go to the graphing calculator. We've already got the graph pulled up. So our first equation was 5y equals 4x plus 6. So let's go ahead and in parentheses put the 4x plus 6. And then we're going to have to divide everything by 5 because it was 5y. So we can just simply put the 4x plus 6 in parentheses and then divide by 5. And there's our first graph. Control G. That was 4x plus 5y equals 14. So we know we're going to have to subtract the 4x. So this is parentheses 14 minus 4x, close parenthesis. And again, we know we're going to have to divide by 5. So there we go. And now all we have to do is find that intersection. It looks like 1, 2. But let's use the feature on the calculator. Oh, I got to turn this off. All right, so menu, analyze, intersection. Now, it's not asking us to pick the graphs because we only have 2 graphs, so it knows which 2 we're trying to find the intersection of. And boom, 1, 2. So let's flip back. And if you look, 1, 2 is letter B. So the answer to number 3 is letter B. All right. So now let's look at the other one. We have negative x minus y equals 2. And we have x minus 5y equals negative 14. Let's flip over to the graph and graph these. Control G. I'm just going to replace this function. So our first one is negative x minus y equals 2. So we know we're going to multiply everything by negative 1. And then we're going to add the x, so it's going to be 2 plus x. So there's the first one. And the second one is x minus 5y equals negative 14. So let's subtract the x across. So we're going to have negative x minus 14. And then we're going to divide that by negative 5. So there's our other one. Again, let's use the intersection tool. Go to Menu, Analyze Graph, Intersection, lower bound, upper bound. It crosses at negative 4, 2. Go back to here. Negative 4, 2. Number 4 is also letter B. All right, number 4 is also letter B. Okay. Moving on. It says a jet ski company charges a flat fee of $27 plus $2 per hour to rent a jet ski. Another company charges a fee of $16.50 plus $3.75 per hour to rent the same jet ski. So now what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to come up with 2 equations to graph and then find the intersection of the 2 lines. So to do that, we have to use the information given. So let's look at company number 1. All right, we know we're going to be graphing lines, so y equals, they charge a flat fee of $27 plus $2 per hour. So let's use x to represent hours. So here's our first equation. Let's look at our second one. Y equals, another company charges a flat fee of $16.50 plus $3.75 per hour. So there's our 2 equations. All right, y equals 27 because they charge $27 an hour plus $2 per hour, so plus 2x. And the second one, the second company charges a flat fee of $16.50 plus $3.75 per hour, so plus 375x. All right, let's flip over to the calculator and graph these things. All right, so back to Control G. Let's delete this out. So our first one is going to be 27 plus 2x. Graph that. Control G. And this one is going to be 1650 plus 3.75x. Graph that one. Oh, whoops. I deleted the same one both times. No, I didn't. You just can't see the first one. So we need to adjust our window. So go to Menu, Window Zoom, Window Settings. Let's put this as 0. X max, let's go to 50. Doesn't matter. Y 0, and for Y max, let's also go to 50. See if that gives it to us. Yep, there's our lovely intersection. So just go to Menu, Analyze Graph, Intersection, Lower, Upper. All right, so 639 is our intersection. Let's write that down. And let's flip back to see what the rest of the question says. It says, use a graphing calculator, find the number of hours for which the costs are the same, round your answer to the nearest whole number. All right, so we used x to represent hours. So since our solution point was 6, 39, that means that 6 is the number of hours for which the two jet ski companies would have the same bill. All right, so regardless of which one you rented from, if you rented it for exactly 6 hours, you'd pay the same amount of money. So, all right, number 6 and 7 says do this without graphing. Keyword there, without graphing. All right, so this one's already solved for y, so why don't we go ahead and do this one. So add the 8x plus 8x. So that would be 2y equals 8x plus 12. Divide 2, divide by 2. So there's y equals 4x plus 6. Looky there, that and that are the exact same equation, which means these are the exact same line, so they are dependent. Letter C, because they are the exact same line, they are dependent. All right, number 7. Let's solve this one for y. So minus 12x, minus 12x. So we have 3y equals negative 12x plus 12. Divide 3, divide 3. So y equals negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4x. And then 12 divided by 3 is plus 4. So there's one. I'm going to rewrite our other one, 4x plus 5. As you can see, the slope is the same, but they have different y-intercepts. So that means these are parallel lines, which means they are inconsistent. They do not have any solutions. They are inconsistent. All right. So that's number 7. And let's scroll down to number 8, solve by substitution. Remember, for substitution, we need to solve one of these equations for a single variable. Let's go ahead and solve this top one for y. So plus 2.5x plus 2.5x. So y equals 13.5 plus 2.5x. So now we can take this and substitute it in for y in our second equation. So 2.25x minus, minus 13.5 plus 2.5x equals negative 2.25. Distribute the negative through. So we have 2.25x minus 13.5 minus 2.5x equals negative 12.25. Combine like terms. So this would be negative 2.25x minus 13.5 equals negative 12.25. Add the 13.5 plus 13.5. So that is negative 0.25x equals 13.5. So that would be what? 1.5 divided by negative 0.25 divided by negative 0.25. So therefore x equals, let's see, negative 5. Alright, so now we plug in a negative 5 up here, pick the easiest equation. Okay, you can pick any one you want, it doesn't really matter. Let's pick the first one, negative 2.5 times 5, negative 5, plus y equals 13.5 minus the y. No, it's not minus the y. Alright, let's see. This times 5 would be, let's see, twice would be 5. So 4 times would be 10, so this would be 12.5 plus y equals 13.5 minus the 12.5 minus the 12.5, so y equals 1. All right, so y equals 1, x equals -5, so the answer is A. All right, so the important thing to remember to solve by substitution is you need to take one of your equations, doesn't matter which one, you're going to get the same answer either way. Solve it for a single variable. What do I mean by that? Solve it for either y or x. So or x equals something. Doesn't matter. It'll come out the same. So I solved this top one for y by simply adding the 2.5x to the other side. So y equals 13.25 plus 2.5x. Then we took, now that we know what y equals, you just take it and you substitute it in to the other equation, like I did. So 2.25x minus parentheses, because you got to distribute that through, 13.5 plus 2.5x equals negative 12.25. Then I simply solve down for x. You take your x value, you plug it back in, you pick the easiest equation to plug it into. So I picked the top one, so you plug it in, and then you simply solve for y, like I did here. All right, that's how you do substitution. Okay. Now, solve by elimination. To solve by elimination, we want to try to get the same coefficient, but opposites. So here we have a 7 and a 4, here we have a 2 and a 7. So let's see, what can we multiply by? Well, let's take the 7 plus 2, multiply it by a 7. So multiply by 7 times 7. And then let's multiply the bottom one by 2. Because now this will give us a positive 14 here and a negative 14 here, and our y's will cancel out. 7 times 7 is 49x, plus 7 times 2 is 14y, equals 77. And then we have 8x minus 14y equals negative 20. All right, and now we're going to add these together. This cancels. This goes to 57x equals 77 minus 20, 57. Well, look at that, x equals 1. And D is the only one where x equals 1. But let's check just to make sure. Let's plug this bad boy back into this top one. So we have 7 times 1 plus 2y equals 11. So 7 plus 2y equals 11. Minus 7 minus 7. 2y equals 4. So y equals 2. Did it check out? Yes, it did. So number 9 is D. Okay, number 9 is D. All right. Number 10, solve the system using an equivalent system. Well, solving using an equivalent system is very, very similar to elimination. All right. So all we're going to do here is simply multiply the bottom by -1. So we're going to have 3x minus 5y equals 9. And then when we multiply this by -1, we're going to get negative 3x plus y equals 3, because we multiplied everything in here by -1. All right, and we add. This cancels. This gives us negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4y equals 9 plus 3 is 12. Divide -4. Divide -4. So y equals -3. And A is the only answer with y as -3, but let's just check. So 3x minus -3 minus 3, whoops, equals -3. So that's 3x plus 3 equals -3, minus 3 minus 3, 3x equals -6, divide 3, so x equals -2. Does it check out? Yes, it does. Number 10 is A. So remember, solving by elimination and solving using an equivalent system are almost identical. So if you can do elimination, you can do an equivalent system as well, because you're kind of already doing it here. All right. Remember, you want to make it to where one of your variables cancels out. So by multiplying this bottom equation by -1, we have a positive 3x and a negative 3x, which do in fact cancel out, leaving us with just one variable. So -5 plus y is -4. 9 plus 3 is 12. Divided by the -4, y is 3. We plugged it back in and got x is -2. All right. So that's the first half of your review video. Feel free to watch it as many times as you need to. Make sure you're ready to take the test. On to part 2.